Okay, so welcome back, Elaine, to the Zoom room and another Art of Letting Go session. So we'll, as usual, look at our email for today with a quote, and that'll lead us nicely into today's lesson. So let me share my screen with you. And we'll dive into it, shall we? Okay. So. Okay, so if you can read that for us.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It is not easy to entrust oneself to God's mercy, because it is an abyss beyond our comprehension. But we must. You may say to yourself, "Oh, I am a great sinner." All the better. Go to Jesus. He likes you to tell him these things. He forgets. He has a very special capacity for forgetting. He forgets. He kisses you. He embraces you. And he simply says to you, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more."
It's beyond our comprehension, but we must. This is the current Pope, Pope Francis. So it's quite an enlightened quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, what he's saying, there's no sin. Go and sin no more. Neither do I condemn you. There's that famous line where they tempted him. The Pharisees and the Sadducees brought this adulteress, who apparently they'd caught in the act. It's like the mind boggles. How did they do that? But anyway, apparently they'd caught her, in the act of adultery, and so they haul her before him. They go, "Great, this is an opportunity to trick him." So they bring her, and they say, "Teacher, what do you say? This woman's been caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says she should be stoned to death. What do you say?" And so what they're hoping is that he'll say no, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, you're defying the law of Moses, so you need to be stoned to death." Or he'll say yes, in which case they've got one over him, and the woman gets stoned to death. I mean, just so callous and cold, but that's the ego mind for you. And so it's a bit of a tight spot, you might say, for him, because he's I don't know, maybe there's a couple of his disciples around, but he doesn't have an army or any help. So and there's a crowd, and in those days they did get rowdy, and they were known to turn on people and stone them to death. It happened. It was sort of acceptable. So her life was certainly at risk, and maybe his was. No pressure then. So he just he knew exactly what to do. It's recorded that he paused. He knelt down and drew something in the sand, which was never explained in the biblical accounts of why he did that. I think he just did it because he was giving himself time. So okay, just pause, go down, just withdraw briefly for 30 seconds, and he's scribbling something in the sand to give himself time to go, okay, so what should I do here, and ask for guidance. And then he stood up and he said, let he who has never sinned cast the first stone. And that one line diffused the whole situation. It's brilliant, the perfect line for the situation, because he made everyone reflect within and say, okay, have I never sinned? No, I've done things, I've made mistakes, I've done some stuff that's not right, I know. And so no. So everyone walked away, crowd walked away, even the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the woman was left on her own with Yeshua. And he said to her, She said, Lord, do you condemn me? He said, no, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Those were his words to her. So what he's referring to here is that situation that was described in the Gospels. Go and sin no more. So correct your errors. You're not saying carry on in your errant ways, but you're not condemned, because sin and guilt are not true and not real. So we seem to make mistakes, but those mistakes are not sins because they are errors that can be corrected. That's the whole teaching. So no one is condemned for their mistakes. They merely asked to let them go, to look at them honestly, recognize them as mistakes and let them go. And then there's no condemnation. You learn a lesson, you move on. That's what we study. A very hopeful. It's a compassionate, loving, hopeful thought system. Whereas in the sin and condemnation thought system of the ego, there's no hope, because you've sinned, you're guilty, you deserve to be punished, you will suffer, you will die ultimately for your sin. That's what the ego tells you, and so there's no hope. And also what he points to here is what's been called the abyss of infinite, eternal, divine love. It's an abyss beyond our comprehension. God's mercy is this unconditional, infinite, eternal love of God. Called many things in different spiritual traditions. And if you recall, that abyss is an essential part of this journey, without which the necessary undoing of the hero's ego and transformation to the higher self isn't possible, and it won't happen. So here's the diagram again for your convenience. So at the bottom end of it, you've left the known world, you're well into the initiation phase, or the adventure phase of the hero's journey. And it takes you into this abyss where there's a death and a rebirth. So the ego dies and you're reborn in the spirit. And so this abyss of divine love is a necessary part of the transformation and the at-one-ment process. And that's clearly illustrated in the hero's journey and in the quote. And yesterday's quote was also about the hero's journey. So you start seeing that the hero's journey, is entrenched. It's the archetype of spiritual awakening that shows up over and over and over again in different quotes, different thoughts. And it shows up in movies, stories. The story of the parable of the prodigal son was really the hero's journey. So it's the universal story of the primordial story of human awakening. This is what we're really here for, to wake up to who we are. So when you're in the abyss of the ego and your belief in separation is making you feel completely hopeless, totally lost and desperately afraid, you're actually on the verge of breaking through this dark veil of illusion into the light of loving awareness, or mercy, as Pope Francis calls it. Mercy is just another name for this loving awareness or unconditional love. So this abyss is the end of the ego. It means you no longer believe in separation or the separate self-concept it entails. So you've been reborn as the Christ or higher self, which is the transformation and at-one-ment mentioned in the diagram. So you go through this, dark night of the soul, the undoing, and then you awaken. So for many Christians, this is too frightening, and Jesus becomes a more personal, accessible, and comfortable symbol of the unconditional love of God. That to the egos is the abyss of total annihilation. So hence he says, go to Jesus. Jesus becomes the placeholder for this divine love, and that has a place. It's not the ultimate realization of it, which is that it's in you. It's not related to anything external to you. And you don't need an intermediary. You don't need a Jesus. It's actually your own self, and it's in your own awareness. But many paths, not just Christianity, but other religions, offer their followers the same comfort in a different form. So, for example, the Hindu deities personify and symbolize the aspects and benefits of divine love. So you've got the Shiva and Shakti and Rama and Vishnu and Krishna and so on and so on. And each one symbolizes some aspect of the divine. So what people do is then, they make the mistake of worshiping the symbols. The symbols are just pointers. They're not really real. They just point you to the divine, as though they are the pure formless awareness of perfect or divine love. They symbolize, because they're a symbol of it in this world. It's a mistake, because as long as you give worth or value to symbols and form, the belief in separation still has a hold in your mind. This will keep you from experiencing only the truth of your being as pure formless awareness of perfect love. So you have to move beyond those symbols and go to the pure non-dual experience of I am that I am, right? It's in me. I don't need symbols. I don't need pointers anymore. I have a direct experience of my true nature, and that's the mystic experience that all the great masters and avatars have had. But this trap of going and worshiping form can easily be avoided if you realize that you are the same self that spiritual masters like Yeshua and the Hindu deities identified with and demonstrated the effects of through their inspired lives. You're exactly the same. You're no different. As he says, in the Bible, Yeshua said, but you shall do these things that I have done, and even greater things than I've done, because you have the same power. So he wasn't saying he's anything above us. The danger of deifying anything is that now you pedestalize or deify this person, as they've done in Christianity. We, as Alan Watts put it, pedestalized Yeshua. So now he's a demigod. He's above everyone else. He's the only son of God. We put him on a pedestal and we worship him. That's not the correct attitude. He's just a way shower. He's saying, follow my way. I did it before you. I went before you. I can be your guide on this journey, on your hero's journey, and I can help you to attain the same state of mind as I attain. And that's the case with all of the deities and avatars and masters, and none of them were special. They just went on a path of awakening to discover who they are, path of self-discovery, and they did. They succeeded, and so they become the way shows with examples for anyone to follow in their footsteps. So don't put them on a pedestal. And he says in the course, revelation is a direct experience with God, and always appropriate there, but always not appropriate in your relationship to me, because we are on the same level. Always is reserved for that which is transcendent, that which is higher, your source. That's the only, when you say something's awesome, that's the only appropriate use of the word. So all the deities and Yeshua and the various masters and avatars that have graced us with their presence over hundreds of thousands of years are all showing us the way to live in and through this true self. And if they're authentic teachers, they never want to be put on a pedestal. That's one of the key ways of distinguishing between a fake and someone who's authentic. Anyone who's authentic says, no, I'm nothing special. I'm not above you. Don't worship me. Don't deify me. Don't put me on a pedestal. I'm exactly the same as you. We're equal, because that's the truth. So even if they take on a teaching role, I think with Yeshua, there was definitely a sense of companionship and brotherhood. So he was kind of the spiritual leader of his group, the disciples, and they looked to him and they called him master, but he just saw himself as their brother. And there was a lot of that companionship and brotherhood that went on. So it wasn't a hierarchical structure. Although they had huge respect for him, and they followed him because, he had more, he was more awakened than they were. He understood more, and he could do things they couldn't do. He was friends with them. He was their friend and their brother. I think that's shown quite well in The Chosen. That they kind of were mates, as well as being a spiritual teacher. They walk through the Holy Land, and they're just a bunch of guys, who enjoy each other's company and like hanging out together and sharing experiences. So every genuine spiritual master who's ever lived has had the same message. Let go of your belief in being a separate self, condemned to live a helpless, animated little life, which is an acronym for hell, you might notice, and surrender fully to the loving awareness that you are, which is your true self. That's known as the Christ, the Buddha, or the Atman in Christian, Buddhist, and Hindu traditions. Or higher awareness, there's many names for higher self, higher awareness, true self. Those are the sort of more modern versions of Christ, Buddha, or Atman. But it's the same thing they're pointing to. So I thought I'd just include the Holy Trinity diagram. We've had a look at this before, but nevertheless worth refreshing. So helps you understand the levels of this. So at the top level, you've got God, which is also called Father or Heaven, Truth, Oneness, Being, Pure Formless Awareness, and Perfect Love is our full name for it, or Perfect Love, or Love, Loving Awareness, Source. The Course calls it Knowledge, Life is another word, capital Life, Spirit, with a capital S. The Course doesn't capitalize that for some reason, but it's in the same order, so our translated version capitalize it. Also called Reality, the Now, Essence, Eternity, Infinity. I haven't included those. Maybe I should at some point. Brahman is the Eastern name for it. The Infinite Absolute. It's called Brahman by the Vedas. Nirvana, that's the Buddhist term for it, sort of for pure formless awareness. Revelation is what the Course calls the state of being in this awareness, and it also calls it the universe. We don't normally in scientific materialist terms, the universe is the physical universe. The cosmos we can measure, see, feel, touch, taste, but the Course uses that term differently. It says the universe is the universe of truth, i.e., it's akin to all these others. It's on the same level. It's true reality. So that's your top level. That's what Ken Wapnick would call level 1 of the Course. Absolute infinite perfection, perfectly one. There's nothing else going on there. It's non-dual. And that's where the Course is pointing us back to. Everything leads us back into an awareness of this, and ultimately the perfect experience of this. We will ultimately just merge back into this awareness and disappear. Our separate self disappears back into God, and we just remain in this awareness for all eternity. So that's top level, level 1. Then you've got kind of an intermediary level. So you've got the true self, Christ, the Son, the soul. In Course terms, it's called the extension, the Buddha, the Atman, higher awareness. These are different names for this sense of a higher self, a higher awareness that is connected to the source, the Father, but is able to perceive. I think that's really the key feature. In this awareness, there's no perception. Perception's just disappeared. It's just pure formless awareness of perfect love. So there's nothing else going on. Christ, identity. You can be in the world and you can observe the world, have various perceptions of the world. True perceptions, also called Christ's vision, also called miracles or corrections, forgiveness or letting go, flow, intuition, surrender, acceptance, salvation, at-one-ment, enlightenment, awakening, and grace. These are terms for this corrective process that is involved in identifying the mind more and more with the true self or the Christ. So we have this bottom level, this is what people call level 2. This is the level of the world, the level of the illusion, where all the events of time and space happen, events, circumstances, people, situations, traumas, successes, failures, and really all experiences in this world seem to exist and happen in this physical universe of time and space, which is just an illusion. It's a construct of the mind, but when you're in it, it seems to be real. So now our job is to perceive those differently. So from the perspective now of the Christ self, that knows that it is one self, knows itself as one awareness, one self, one awareness, it now has true perceptions, Christ's vision, which are the miracles or the corrections or the forgiveness or the letting go, the state of flow that we talk about. And when we bring the true self's perception into this world, it results in the correction of perception, also known as letting go of forgiveness, which leads to true perception or Christ's vision, which strengthens our identification with our true self, weakens our identification with all the people, things, places, events, circumstances, and other chaos that happens at this level, and the self that perceives it. So within this construct of the world, the ego is made up a self that is bound up in the construct. It's bound within these very narrow parameters and limitations that the ego has created. And so our job is to transcend that, let go of those misperceptions, perceive it, from the perspective of oneness, which is the true self or the Christ perspective, which then raises us up out of identification, all of us, and puts us in a clean, clear awareness where we're much more aware of our source. The source is present in our awareness then. And our perception is corrected, which is then the miracle. And so we flow forward from that corrected perception, because corrected perception leads to changed words, changed actions. So we flow forward in that corrected perception. Okay, so that's the structure of the Trinity. The true self and the Holy Spirit, which is this symbolized by the blue arrows, are not ultimately real, but they are necessary in an illusion to return your mind back to ultimate source. So they're necessary expedients, if you like. Okay, so does that, we've looked at it before, but it's worth reviewing it because it's enormously profound. This is an operating system for your life that can help you to find happiness, well-being, peace of mind, sustainably while you continue to live in the dream world. Very powerful system for awakening. If you're missing the idea of the Holy Spirit and the Christ, you just have these two seemingly completely opposite polarities. The world of form, which works in a certain way, and then you've got this world, the divine world, which works entirely differently, and there's no bridge between them. So the Holy Spirit and the Christ self are the bridge between us, between this reality and absolute reality, true reality. And so they are not ultimately true, but they're very necessary to get home, which is why he's introduced them and helps us to work this as a system. The course is almost exclusively dedicated to this part of the journey, to helping you work through your misperceptions and find your true self. All right, so any thoughts on that?
No, it's clear. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's generally not clear. If you look at Christian teachings and theologians and stuff, they have no idea what the Holy Trinity is. I've read some stuff and I'm like, no, you're just not getting it. Because what they try and do is they're mixing the levels. They often try and make it something permanent and eternal. They say, well, God created it, and they don't have an understanding of the illusion, and that this is a temporary construct within the illusion to help us get out of it. God is infinite and absolute and unaffected. These are the effects of this God, pure formless awareness of perfect love awareness that we can experience, perceive in the world. That can be very helpful. So use it. It's saying use it as an operating system for your life, ongoing. Okay, so that brings us to the session and today's lesson, which prepares us nicely for. So you can read the lesson, Elaine. I'm just going to go into the actual document in case we got any editing to do. So we're on lesson. Let's do the lesson and the text, and then we can always come back to the first 5 paragraphs. Just aware of the time. Okay, so lesson 235. God in His mercy wills that I be saved.
God in His mercy wills that I be saved. Perfect love in its loving kindness is aware that I am free.
Yeah, I just thought that's quite a substantial retranslation, isn't it, of the original. God in His mercy. So mercy is really unconditional love or loving kindness.
Yeah.
Perfect love and its unconditional love. So I just said perfect love and its loving kindness, because mercy there's kind of an active element of forgiveness and mercy. So perfect love and its loving kindness, instead of wills, is aware, right? So that awareness is aware that I'm free already. Instead of that I be saved. I've never really resonated with the saving idea.
No, it's more modern than that, yeah.
Well, it's a bit old-fashioned. God in His mercy wills that I be saved. Kind of lends itself to a misinterpretation of, well, there's a God outside of me that's going to save me. If I pray hard enough, then God will save me because I'm one of the righteous ones, and will condemn everyone else. That's a common misperception amongst traditional, especially formal, very religious Christians. They're like, God has saved me. In fact, I stayed with one for a few weeks, so I saw this thought system in action. I'm a holy one. God has saved me, and you're some heathen unbeliever who is condemned. So I don't owe you love because you something less than godly. That's the delusion, which is a misunderstanding of what God is, because God is unconditional love. So God is telling us to love unconditionally, not some, love all, which is why Yeshua's advice was love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Number 1, first commandment. Second one, love your neighbor as yourself. And he introduced the second one to avoid exactly the issue that I saw with this lady. Oh, I love God, but I don't love you. Oh, okay. But then you're not understanding what God is. It's a complete misunderstanding of what God is, because there's a concept of God somehow outside of her. She was formal, religious, went to church, so God is somewhere out there. I love God, I praise God, I worship God out there. And God, because I'm a believer and you're not, I have God on my side and He's not on your side. So I don't owe you love because somehow I'm above you. That's a common religious misinterpretation of the scriptures. When actually Yeshua was saying love everyone, his whole mission was to spread unconditional love and teach that. So there were no conditions, whether he's talking to the adulteress or Samaritan woman who Jews weren't supposed to have anything to do with Gentiles in those days. It didn't bother him. He's like, well, everyone's the same. We're all all sons of God. We're all connected to the Father. And so everyone is worthy of my love, and he demonstrated that. over and over, but obviously not everyone's in the same state of mind, and so they misperceive the teachings, and they do these things to keep the ego intact, because if you say, well, I love God but I don't love you, it keeps that separation alive, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, now I can be separate from you and I can treat you not very nicely, and that's justified, and then my separate self continues because I feel separate from you. And now I'm the holy one, I'm the righteous one, and you're the sinner. Again, separation. So hence the love your neighbors as yourself is a key part of it, because if you don't love them and there's separation going on in your mind, then you separate yourself from God. Simple as that. Then you're not in pure formless awareness of perfect love, you're in another awareness. So if you look at it from the awareness point of view, coming back to the quote, the reason why we reinterpret it is because it directs us much more inwardly. God is not outside of us saving us or anyone. It's our own awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, in its loving kindness, is aware that I'm free. So that awareness is already aware that I'm free, because that awareness is free, and that awareness is in me already. So I'm already free. I don't need to be saved. I just need to accept that I am saved. I am free already, see? And so it brings it into the very much the present. God wills that I be saved. So easy to go, well, one day, I'll be saved. One day God will send his messenger. Some people believe in, the second coming of Christ. Yeshua is going to come back and save us all. But it's all in the future. When actually it's right here, right now. You're free now if you could just accept it. So the translation brings you into that awareness and that acceptance. All right. So let's go into the lesson, shall we? Shall we read number 1?
I need only perceive all things that seem to hurt me, and with perfect certainty assure myself. Pure formless awareness of perfect love is aware that I am free from this, and merely watch them disappear.
And then the original, just I think read it in the original. It'll be interesting to do the translation. You see how I've translated it. So read the original sentence by sentence, and then the alternative. I think it would be valuable.
I need but look upon all things that seem to hurt me, and with perfect certainty assure myself, God wills that I be saved from this, and merely watch them disappear. Or I need only perceive all things that seem to hurt me, and with perfect certainty assure myself, pure formless awareness of perfect love is aware that I am free from this, and merely watch them disappear.
So God wills that I be saved from this, as opposed to pure formless awareness of perfect love is aware that I am free from this, is very different, isn't it? So it gives a different feeling. The pure formless awareness of perfect love that's already in me, that awareness is aware that I'm already free from this. So it's always already there. It's not something that has to happen in future. I'm not saved in future. I'm saved right now by realizing that this awareness is in me and that I'm free right now. I'm free from all the blocks to the awareness of love's presence right now. And then merely watch them disappear. Because if you claim this freedom and you experience it, then these blocks to awareness of love's presence disappear. Okay. So number 2, if you read the original, then alternative.
I need but keep in mind my Father's will for me is only happiness, to find that only happiness has come to me. I need only keep in mind my source's awareness for me is only happiness, to find that only happiness has come to me. 3. And I need but remember that God's love surrounds his Son and keeps his sinlessness forever perfect, to be sure that I am saved and safe forever in his arms. And I need only remember that pure formless awareness of perfect love surrounds its extension and keeps its innocence perfect forever, to be sure that I am peaceful and free forever in its loving embrace. I am the Son he loves, and I am the extension it loves. And I am saved because God in his mercy wills it so. And I am free because pure formless awareness of perfect love in its beneficence is aware that it is so.
That's loving kindness. Is aware that it is so. I am free because this awareness is aware that it's so. All I need to do is accept that awareness as my own awareness. The only problem we have is that we struggle to accept that. That awareness is there, it exists, but it's only a potential until we accept it as our awareness in our minds. See that?
Yeah.
I'm free because pure formless awareness of perfect love, its loving kindness, is aware that it is so. So I just accept that awareness. It's always already there, and I accept what's always already there. How simple. It's already there. You don't have to create it, invent it, grow. The idea of growth is it looks like growth, but actually you're just letting go of what's blocking your awareness of what's already there. That's what growth, true spiritual growth, really means. You're not growing into something you're not. You're letting go of what you're not so that you can become aware of what you are. You see, it's a subtle but very important distinction. Which is the difference between, let's say, religions, and there's the whole personal growth movement that focus very much on manifestation. Oh, no, you've got to, become something, make something of yourself in the world. You're going to grow into this. You're going to achieve. It's quite common, even in religious terms. My wife used to be a Buddhist, something called Nichiren Buddhism, and she said she left eventually. She's studying the course because she found that what they were doing was they were chanting. They use a technique called chanting. They say a kind of a mantra and they just repeat it. But they chant for things. Oh no, I'm chanting for this. I need more money, so I chant for more money. Well, that's just magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you're trying to now use your mind to manifest. It's another aspect of this growth idea and conscious manifestation. And I want something, but subtly, what you're doing is you're denying your being in doing that. You say, I need money, so I'm going to chant for money. Now my attention goes externally, outside of myself, to the world, and I go, right, I, separate self, who don't have money, need money. So the lady, said she met one of her old contacts. Said, oh, you must come around and chant. And she said, no, I'm chanting for money at the moment. She said, yeah, well, that's exactly why. That's exactly why I don't do it anymore, because it's on a lower level. Well, it's just more of that conscious manifestation, isn't it? I think if I get money, then I'll be happier. So, okay, I'm going to now use this technique to get what I want. And that seems to be encouraged by many people in the certainly at the lower level. I don't know, maybe there's guys at a higher level who understand that that's not really where it's at, but a lot of that goes on.
They're missing the point.
Conscious manifestation, and So there's a huge difference between that and saying, well, actually what you need is already there, right? So when you chant or you meditate, you do any spiritual practice, really what you're trying to do is just remove the blocks to what's already there and reveal what's already there. It's not outside of you. It doesn't have to come in the future. It's right there. It's sitting in your own awareness, just covered over. And the spiritual practice is designed to reveal it. That's a very different idea, isn't it? Compared with I'm going out and I now need to achieve something outside of myself in order to be happy. Is that what you're saying? Now, of course, it's never going to work. Even if you do get more money, you'll carry on. Oh, well, now I'm chanting for something else.
Yeah.
Maybe I want even more money, or I want a better job, or I want a special relationship partner, or and it never stops, does it?
No, it
and
doesn't.
So now you're actually in desire. Interesting, because it's a Buddhist practice, but the second noble truth of Buddhism is that the source of all suffering is desire.
Yeah.
So they're actually denying, they're violating the second noble truth in doing this, not even realizing what they're doing. So they depart from the original teaching and go, okay, we're just kind of doing our own thing. No, the original teaching is don't desire anything. So if you're chanting for something, you're missing the point. If you chanted to reveal your Buddha nature as a practice to release all of your garbage, then better. Now you're uncovering what's already there, and you're using the practice to do that, which is probably what it was originally designed for. But then the mind comes in and starts misusing these techniques and saying, well, now I'm doing it because I want some worldly outcome, and that's not what it's about. So it's always already there. Freedom is already there. You don't need anything outside of you to save you. You just have to accept that awareness is already there, and in that awareness you're free. That's it. Very simple. But to do that, you have to let go of the ego, because that's what blocks that awareness, which isn't so simple, as we know. It's simple, but it's not easy.
No, it's very complex.
Conceptually very simple. Yeah, okay, you've got blocks to awareness of love's presence. They cover over that awareness. Okay, we'll just get rid of the blocks. Yeah, easy. Okay, well, that's your whole life's practice, to get rid of those blocks, because those blocks are your separate self that has all these thoughts, opinions, judgments, beliefs, and then various perceptions, emotions. It's attached to the past. It projects into the future. It's a whole construct, isn't it, that you've got to collapse. That's the block. The block is what you think of as yourself. That's the block to the awareness of love's presence. So in other words, yourself, separate self, has to die in order to reveal that. Okay, well, that's not that easy.
Not an easy task, no.
No, not that easy. Because the problem is you're in the delusion. We're so caught up in the delusion of being a separate self that we can't see the wood for the trees. We can't see outside of that. Then the world tells us, yeah, you are a separate self. You're born into a body. You have your own identity. You have a body. You have your own personal identity. You have a name. You have a social security number or a tax number or whatever. The world tells you this is who you are. And this completely deconstructs that and says, no, you're not that at all. It's completely false. So just let go of your entire self-concept and the world that it created, and then you'll be free. Okay. Yes. But not that simple, is it? So, no. Yeah. Anyway, so you want to read number 2, and then maybe we can go into a meditation.
Yeah. My source, your pure formless awareness is mine. Your love extends me and makes my innocence forever part of you. I have no guilt or sin in me, for there is none in you.
Oh, it's lovely pointer, really, to get us into the state. Your love extends me and makes my innocence forever part of you. No guilt or sin in me, for there is none in you. So an acceptance of this loving awareness. We are this loving awareness. There's no sin, there's no guilt. That's all in our own mind. That's our own block. just accept this loving awareness. Here's what you are. So perfect pointer really for a deeper awareness, which is meditation. So should we do that?
Yeah.
Meditate on this for 20 minutes or so, and then we'll go into the text. Okay, so all right, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight. Cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So you're breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Clench the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Pull the energy up the spine into your heart center. Draw it up into the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. And scan your mind. So just noticing thoughts, emotions, related body sensations going on. Taking anything that feels negative in any way, limiting, contracted, constricting. Just breathe into that. And just scan your mind. Be willing just to let go. Let it all go. Blow it all away. The breeze of your breath. And remind yourself of today's lesson. That perfect love in its loving kindness is aware that I'm free. Perfect love in its loving kindness right now is aware that I am free. And you just exhale and blow it out. The breeze of your breath to the nothingness that it really is. Going, gone. Lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just sink inwards to this loving awareness that the lesson points to. It's loving kindness. Perfect love and its loving kindness is aware that I am free right now. I always have been free. I just haven't been aware of it. My own thoughts and emotions have blocked the awareness of freedom. So breathe in again. Deep full inhale, stomach out, clench the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in, raise the energy up. Spine into your heart center, put one hand in your heart. And just say this, today's lesson is an affirmation. Say, I need only perceive all things that seem to hurt me, and with perfect certainty assure myself. Say this out loud. Pure, formless awareness of perfect love is aware that I am free from this. Exhale, let it go, blow it away, the breeze of your breath. Release the thoughts, the emotions, related body sensations, just letting it all go. The nothingness that it really is. And then watch it disappear. And just disappear from your awareness. You only keep in mind my source is awareness. Brings me only happiness. To find that only happiness has come to me. So breathe in again, this loving awareness of source's awareness. Just breathe it in. Accept it into your heart, your mind, your energy system. Breathe in this loving awareness. You are in this awareness. You accept that this awareness brings you happiness. Only happiness has come to you. Only love and happiness are your reward for this awareness. And need only remember that pure formless awareness of perfect love surrounds its extension. Speak that out as you exhale. Say those words, an affirmation. Feel the love of God, this pure formless awareness of perfect love. Breathe in again. Feel it enveloping you. It surrounds you. You are immersed in it. It is you. You are it. It's everywhere. It's nowhere it is not. Have a sense of that. Being enveloped or surrounded in it. Keeps its innocence perfect forever. To be sure that I am peaceful and free forever in its loving embrace. Say, I am peaceful and free forever in its loving embrace. This awareness that embraces you, comforts you. Feel it, accept it deeply. It's your own deepest awareness. It's always been there, in which you're free and happy, peaceful, joyful, in which you live eternally. And that's just been covered over by this crazy thought system of the ego that tells you that you're something else. To say again, affirm as you breathe in, I am the extension of loving awareness. I'm the extension. It loves, my source loves. And I am free because pure, formless awareness, perfect love in its loving kindness, is aware that it is so right now. Exhale. Blow out any resistance to the statement. You're letting it go. Dark cloud or black smoke leaving you. It's going, gone. Lower stomach into the spine. And just surrender into this loving awareness. So sink inwards. Use this prayer to help you connect deeply with your source. So my source, your pure formless awareness is mine. Your love extends me. and makes my innocence forever part of you. Speak these words aloud to really accept them into your being. Love extends me and makes my innocence forever part of you. I have no guilt or sin in me, for there is none in you. Again, you exhale, just purge this idea of sin and guilt, the foundations of the ego on which its insane self-concept is built, the idea that you really have separated from your source and therefore you're guilty for it is key defense. Guilt and sin make it real, make the self-concept you've invented real. So accept that there's no guilt or sin in you, there's just perfect innocence, perfect love. This loving awareness envelops you. Just as you need only remember that pure formless awareness of perfect love surrounds its extension, keeps its innocence perfect forever, to be sure, I am peaceful and free forever, in its loving embrace. So feel that love of God, the loving embrace of this loving awareness in your own awareness, strongly, powerfully arising right now, in the moment. Smile. This loving awareness is your awareness. There is no other awareness. Say to yourself, I am this loving awareness. And then just rest in that awareness. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about, no other techniques. You just breathe and observe the breath. And you relax into this awareness for a couple of minutes of deep contemplative silence. Just be in this awareness. Let it envelop you, surround you, and ultimately become you. In the next couple of minutes of deep silence. So gently coming back from this deep state. Of awareness into an awareness now of the body, the breath, and the senses in the world. So on the count to one, just breathing in. And noticing how the stomach rises, chest rises, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind, notice thoughts, emotions. Notice any unpleasant thoughts, any constriction. And just remind yourself of today's lesson. Perfect love and its loving kindness is aware that I'm free. It's aware that I'm free already, so I can let go in this awareness. You blow it out, let it go with the breeze of your breath. And the nothingness that it really is, it's going, gone. All the stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest in this loving awareness. Few moments at the bottom of the exhale, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground, noticing what you're feeling and touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose, notice that, notice what you're hearing. Surrounding environment, just noticing all these things from this very still, calm and surrendered state of mind, not illusions, state of mind in which only the truth is true. You anchor the state in, state of awareness, loving awareness. You're aware of who you are, you're aware that you're free already. There are no negative thoughts and emotions, just free in this loving awareness. You anchor the state in, set the intention to stay here for the rest of the session in the evening. So it is said, so it is done. And now on the count of 3, you open your eyes. So just take a moment to look around. Take a minute to orient yourself back into the world. So you're looking at any object randomly. Notice this awareness is still there. And there's a deep peace, happiness underlies your perception. You're okay. As you look at this, you feel peaceful, happy, calm. You close your eyes, notice that peaceful, calm feeling is still there. You open your eyes, look at something else. Notice the same awareness, close your eyes, and just do that alternately. Open and then closed eyes, looking at, say, half a dozen objects just for a few seconds per object. Make no attempt to select any particular object to avoid anything, just whatever your eyes happen to rest on. and notice that you have exactly the same awareness. If you're not naming and judging and labeling those objects, the awareness that underlies your perception is identical, doesn't change. And that is your true awareness, that is unaffected by sense perceptions and the world at all. So training your mind to stay rooted in that awareness, which is your true awareness, in which you're free, in which you're connected to your source, and then the source lives in and through you, and you are enveloped, as today's lesson says. Need but remember that God's love surrounds his son and keeps his sinlessness forever perfect. Need only remember that pure formless oneness, perfect love surrounds its extension, keeps its innocence perfect forever, to be sure that I'm peaceful and free forever in its loving embrace. So the embrace is this feeling, this lovely awareness. So hopefully you connected with that quite deeply, and that will carry you through the rest of the session and on into the evening. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and the first part of tonight's session. So shall we jump into the text?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we'll look at today's text reading then. Okay, so text reading for today is section 5 of chapter 28, called The Alternate to Dreams of Fear. So let me share my screen again with you. We're going to do that. The Alternate to Dreams of Fear. It's 7 paragraphs, so not too long. So let's see if we can get it done in an hour. I've got a meeting in just over an hour. So if you want to start off with paragraph 1, and then read it in the alternative. It's just God, which becomes pure formless awareness and perfect love, to translate.
Yeah. What is a sense of sickness but a sense of limitation, of a splitting off and a separating from? A gap that is perceived between me and my companion, and what is not seen as health. And so the good
Now,
is
what is now seen as health?
So what is now seen as health. And so the good is seen to be outside, the evil in. And thus is sickness separating off the self from good and keeping evil in.
Just pause it there. I'm just going to fix this.
Yeah.
So we'll make it active. He does the passive tense, but I'm going to make it active. And so I perceive the good as outside of me, and the evil within. And so sickness separating off the self from good and keeping evil in. And so sickness is separating off, separating out, separating off, or just separating off the self from good.
So sickness is separating the self from good, yeah.
To take out the off, it's redundant. So sickness splitting off. You'd say splitting off the self, maybe. Splitting off the self from good. and keeping evil within. So the sickness seems to be within you. Healing seems to be outside of you.
So is the self a big S? Splitting off the self.
Self from good. No, because you can't do that. Capital self would be is good, is the essence of goodness. So this is the small. You split off the little self.
Yeah.
From good, from goodness, good, from good or goodness. The good. Let's keep this good. For self from good and keeping evil within. So now you live in this separate self that thinks it's sick and the evil is within it, and any good is seen as outside of it and not accessible, which is why some people get chronically sick and they just can't heal because they've kept any healing away from them. Their self-concept requires that as a sick person. Okay, pure formless awareness, perfect love.
Pure formless awareness of perfect love is the alternate to dreams of fear. Who shares in them can never share in it. But who withdraws his mind from sharing them is sharing it. There is no other choice except I share it. Nothing can exist. And I exist because pure formless awareness of perfect love shared its will with me, that its extension might extend.
So let's change that to awareness. I exist because pure formless awareness of perfect love shared its awareness with me. So when you say the will, it's that awareness, isn't it? That's why we translate will whenever we can as awareness.
Yeah.
It shared its awareness with me. It's not some alien, some other will outside of mine. It's its own awareness that it shares with me that is my awareness. When I accept that it's my awareness, then that's the merging of the Father and the Son. When you understand it in those terms, it's very simple, isn't it? There's nothing particularly mystical or strange or it's not understandable. It's a simple awareness that is pure, formless awareness. It's innocent, it's loving, it's kind. It's all good things come from that awareness. But it's a base awareness, and we've been asked just to accept that awareness as our awareness. That's all. And that's all there is to this whole game of awakening. Just accept that awareness as yours. So simple, really, isn't it? In concepts, like what could be simpler? But you have another awareness. That's what makes it difficult.
Very strong.
The other awareness covers that over and says, "Oh no, there's something else going on here. You need to be aware of this and this and this, and it's got endless illusions that you need to be aware of, rather than pure formless awareness and perfect love." And as I said, when I had that mystic experience, it was so clear to me that it was all a load of rubbish. We just made up the world to justify all of the false thoughts and emotions. That's the reason why the world exists, because it justifies all of these false thoughts and emotions that cover over pure formless awareness of perfect love. And we needed a justification for that. So we made up a world to do that. That's why the world and the self-concept are one. The purpose of the world is to produce the situations, the triggers that the self-concept needs to continue to justify its existence. It's like, oh, I get it. That was my insight. It's like, oh, I get it. I see exactly what Yeshua is saying, what all the masters have figured out. Yes, it's all a construct of the mind to justify a separate self, which isn't real, but is desperate to make itself real. So it has to maintain the world in its perception in order to make it real. Because what would it be without the world? It would just be pure formless awareness, wouldn't it? Perfect love.
Yeah.
Oh. Is that are you understanding that, Elaine?
Yes, I do. What you've just said there.
Because
Sometimes,
it's the essence of the teaching. It's the essence of all of this. It's just like, well, that's all that's going on. We made up a separate self. We projected out a world that's now seemingly outside of our mind, which gives us feedback that tells us that separate self is real and triggers all kinds of thoughts and emotions, which then cover over pure formless awareness of perfect love. And the purpose of the world is to do that. That's why it's called the veil of illusion.
yeah,
The only
yeah.
purpose is to cover
Yeah.
over pure formless awareness of perfect love. And you go, oh, I get it. So then my only true purpose is to let it go, isn't it?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
that conceptual understanding, my only true purpose, if that's true, which, this is what the mind training is about. You've got to accept that this teaching is true, that philosophically, what Yeshua is saying is true. The ego will deny it and say, there's another reason and the world has another purpose. But if you accept the metaphysics that is true, then the only answer, the only way to live your life becomes, well, I need to let go of the veil of illusion that's covering it over. All the triggers that seem to justify all my negative thoughts and emotions that cover over this awareness, those all need to be let go of. So as they arise and I get triggered, I let them go. And then I deny the thought system that's behind it all. I'm not giving it power, am I? So hence letting go then becomes, well, that's the only solution. If you accept that, that is actually what the world is for. So many other people have other ideas about the world. If you have other ideas, you go, well, the world is for experience. The world is there to be enjoyed. The world is there to, have adventures. The world is there to win the game. The world is there to avoid pain, seek pleasure. All of these other ideas will block the single awareness that letting go is the answer. Do you see that?
Oh yeah, there's lots of cover-ups. Yes, I'm aware
Which
of that.
is why he teaches the metaphysics over and over, saying you've got to accept that this is the only purpose of the world. You made it to cover over your pure formless awareness of perfect love. You made it to split off your true self and cover it over. But still, what remains, as he says here, is pure formless awareness of perfect love is the alternate to dreams of fear. Who shares in them can never share in it. But who withdraws his mind from sharing them is sharing it. So it's a choice. I must withdraw my mind from illusions in order to find this true awareness, pure formless awareness, perfect love. There is no other choice. Except I share it, nothing can exist. That needs some work. I think what he means, nothing can exist unless I share it. That I think. Nothing can exist unless I share it.
It's a bit ambiguous, isn't it?
Well, he's talking about it, so it being pure formless awareness. There is no other choice. Nothing can exist unless I share
pure formless
it.
awareness.
Yeah. So if I don't share pure formless awareness, then I am caught up in non-existence. Nothing can exist.
You're caught up in the dream.
Nothing can exist. Maybe we could phrase this better. Nothing. nothing that does not come from it. Can be shared. I'm changing the sense of that. So let's just leave it. Nothing can exist unless I share it. And I exist because pure formless awareness of perfect love shares, not shared, shares its awareness with me. So that its extension so that its extension can extend. So his creation might create. So that its extension can extend love.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thoughts, comments on that? What's he saying?
Well, pure formless awareness needs to be shared and extended so that we all are in this state. And it's going on to say about sickness and its limitation and so we're seeing the good outside of us and inside evil, whereas it's obviously the other way around. So sickness is splitting us off the self from good and keeping evil within. So pure formless awareness of perfect love is the alternate to dreams of fear. So it's, well, it's opposites, it's all opposites. Who shares in them can never share in it. That's a bit ambiguous as well. Whoever shares in them can never share in it.
In the dreams of fear. Whoever shares in them, the dreams of fear, can never share in it. Pure formless awareness.
Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah.
It is capitalized, yeah. But
Yeah.
whoever draws his mind from sharing them, whoever stops sharing them, whoever decides to, let's say decides, because that's what he means by withdraws his mind. Whoever decides to, you make a decision. You stop sharing evil dreams. You stop the dreams of fear.
Yeah.
We all have to make that choice at some point. Okay, I've got to stop it. Whoever decides to stop sharing them is sharing it. So then we start sharing in this awareness. There is no other choice. Nothing can exist outside of it. Except you share it, nothing can exist. Nothing can exist unless I share it. So if I'm not sharing in this awareness, there's no true existence. What I'm living in is a false existence. It's a dream world. Which is why the illusion feels so unsatisfying, because it's not real. And I exist because pure formless awareness of perfect love shares its awareness with me so that its extension can extend love. Okay, happy to move on.
Yep. It is the sharing of the evil dreams of hate and malice, bitterness and death, of sin and suffering and pain and loss that makes them real. Unshared, they are perceived as meaningless. The fear is gone from them because I did not give them my support. Where fear has gone, sorry, I just lost it there for a second. Right. Where fear has gone, their love must come, because there is only these alternatives, where one appears, the other disappears, and which I share becomes the only one I have. I have the one that I accept, because it is the only one I wish to have.
And here is one, love must come. These are only these alternatives. Because these are the only alternatives. When one appears, the other disappears, which I share becomes the only one I have. I have the one that I accept because it is the only one. Then is the only one I wish to have. It is then. So by my choice, by my decision, I choose which reality I want. And they are alternate. They don't agree. They don't marry. It's one or the other. So we must choose. He's making that choice again, very explicit in this choice between fear and love. Yes. Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's clear.
Oh. Okay. So number 3.
I share no evil dreams if I let go the dreamer, and I perceive that he is not the dream he made.
You need to attend to your cat alone.
And no, because he's been spoiled. I've got plenty of food out for him. He just wants something better.
Right. Okay. So no evil dreams if I let go of the dreamer and perceive that I'm not the dream I made. So if I recognize that I'm not the dreamer and I'm not the dream I made, then I'm free. It's funny, someone today sent me something like a profile on his business, and his words were, "This is me and what I do." But it was a profile, it wasn't about him, it was about his business. But look at the language there. This is me and what I do. So clearly there's an attachment to the business, isn't there? This is me. So, the business is me. No, it's not you at all.
Yeah.
It's what you do in the world, but it's not you.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But there's an identification there with which is quite common. Lots of business owners do that. They identify with the business. They think they are the business.
True. Yes, we all have done that. Yes.
Is a hard way to live, because if it's going well, it's okay. But if it's not going so
if it's not, which inevitably that's what.
Which inevitably, no business goes smoothly all the time. So
No.
If you are the business and the business is threatened, then your self-concept is threatened. It feels very fearful. And then you suffer. You fear fear of loss, and really the loss of it's not so much the financial loss, although the ego will tell you that, but it's actually the loss of identity.
Yeah, your identity, and that can be a big kick
then
to the
failed.
ego.
I failed. Then if I don't have my business, who am I? I'm identified with the business, and if the business fails, then I failed. Even if things happen, sometimes you get there's many reasons why a business can fail. So don't identify with to what you do and the form. So share no evil dreams. If I let go of the dream, I perceive that I'm not the dream I made. So I'm not the business I made. I'm not the life I made. I'm not the dreamer even. I go beyond all of those falsities to the pure formless awareness of perfect love. That is the blank canvas, the screen on which all of it's projected, that is not affected by any of it. Perceive that I'm not the dreamer. I'm not the dream I made, and so he cannot be a part of mine. So the dreamer cannot be a part of mine, from which we both are free. Part of mine, part of my dream. Share no evil dreams. I let go of the dream. Yeah. The dreamer cannot be a part of my dream. From which we both are free. All right, carry on. Letting go separates the dreamer from the evil dream.
Letting go separates the dreamer from the evil dream and thus releases him. Remember, if I share an evil dream, I will believe I am the dream I share, and fearing it. I will not want to know my own identity because I think that it is fearful. And I will deny myself and walk upon an alien ground which my source did not make, and where I seem to be something I am not. I will make war upon myself, which seems to be my enemy, and I will attack my companion as a part of what I hate. There is no compromise. I am myself or an illusion. What can be between illusion and the truth? A middle ground where I can be the thing that is not me. Must be a dream. I cannot be the truth.
Yeah. Middle ground where I can be a thing that is not me, must be a dream and cannot be the truth. So there's no compromise or middle ground. Sometimes people will go, well, it's kind of okay. Yes, you have a true self or higher awareness, but you also have an ego, and the ego has its place. And, you can have both of those. It's okay. We don't need to get rid of the ego. It's just got to be managed. Put it back in its box. Have you heard those kinds of teachings?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
They're quite common. So this is kind of what he's referring to, the middle ground, where you can kind of have a bit of a dream. You can still have the ego, but you have your higher awareness and sort of body, mind, and spirit. But actually, it's just a mess. It's a mixed mess, spirituality, because you're trying to reconcile what can't be reconciled. And so in the end, you have to look at that paradox and go, okay, it doesn't make sense. I can't have love and hate going on at the same time in my mind. They're clearly opposites. I can't be mortal and doomed to suffer and die in a body and be eternal beyond death and infinite living in infinite loving awareness forever, eternally. I can't be both of those things. It's one or the other. So in the end, let me cut to the chase and just see that there's a contradiction, and then make a choice. That's what Yeshua is asking us to do with this course. Don't compromise and try and find a middle ground and try and fudge it. In today's language, we call it fudging it. Well, I'll compromise and I'll fudge it. I can have the illusion and the truth, and they don't contradict each other, and somehow I can make that work for me. That's the middle ground. I can be a thing That is not me. But that must be a dream and cannot be the truth. Right? So it's just helping us to make clear distinction between the two realities, the two thought systems, and he's saying, you know, they don't mix and match. You can't mix and match them. It's one or the other. They contradict each other. If you continue to try and believe in both, you will find that your mind is split and you have all this inner conflict, and you won't have peace of mind because you've got two thought systems that are completely opposite and contradictory to each other, and both are telling you who you are and what you should do. Well, you can't really work that, can you? And find any kind of clarity or peace. So again, he's just saying you must choose the one way or the other, that you can't have both. Okay, anything else he's saying there? You want to comment on what's
quite clear, really, isn't it?
stood out
One
for
or
you?
the other, and that's it. Yeah, no middle ground when it comes to these teachings.
And if you choose the ego, then you know it's a horror show. It's attack and war. You make war upon yourself. You attack your companions. You know, that's what tolerating the ego involves. Oh, I'll just have a little bit of hatred and attack and try and also love. It's not possible.
No.
So that's why if someone says, well, you know, it's okay, we don't have to get rid of the ego entirely. What they're really saying is, okay, will you allow some hatred and fear and attack to enter your mind? And that's okay, because that's what the ego is. That's what it does. But that contradicts love. And how can you ever find peace and love and joy if you've got hatred and fear and anger and attack going? You never will. So yeah, just, you know, when those you probably hear those teachings from various teachers and paths, and just go, no, that's not the way. A non-dual teaching, pure non-dual, which is what the Course is it's this or it's that. One is real, the other's not. You've got to make your choice, and you've got to go with one of them. You can never truly go with the ego, because there will always be the spirit that's the voice of, you know, true awareness, which you try and blot out and suppress, but it'll always be there. You can never get rid of it. So that will just maintain split until eventually you listen. So the only choice you can make that will get you out of this dilemma is the choice for love, pure formless awareness of perfect love, which collapses the alternate, because the alternate wasn't real. So it collapses the alternate dream of fear and establishes that only love is true. And then you've resolved the paradox and the dilemma, and you're free.
Well, you often hear kill the ego, but that seems quite aggressive, doesn't it? Kill the ego.
Well, you can't kill what's not real.
Well, that's true, yes.
So how do you kill? Okay, now by trying to kill it, you're giving it a reality. And obviously you're actually perpetuating it, because the only consciousness, the only entity that can think of death and killing is the ego. And the ego wants to kill the ego.
It's normally the graffiti, isn't it? You see it sort of in hippie areas, kill the ego, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put in brackets, how can you do that when it's not real? That'll get them thinking.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And death is of the ego. So if you're trying to kill the ego, it's the ego trying to kill the ego. Well, how can that work? It doesn't work, because the ego is the death wish. So if you believe in death, and even if you did kill yourself, you know, so you commit suicide, that would be the way you acted that out. The ego is not dead. The ego is very much alive, still going on in your mind. So you haven't killed anything. In fact, you've reinforced its thought system, because it's a death wish. So kill the ego as a death wish. Well, that is the ego. It's a death wish. So you're not getting rid of the ego by doing that. You're perpetuating, reinforcing it.
Yeah.
Actually, what you want to do is let the ego go. Let go of the idea of death and attack.
That's the best way to
it's
deal
not
with
possible. You realize it's not possible. What you're trying to do is impossible. How can you kill what's eternal? You can't kill your true awareness. It's not possible. The ego has told you you can, but you still have awareness, you still have life, you have a mind going on, you have awareness. You didn't kill yourself, evidently. You see, it's impossible. So in the realization that the ego is impossible and its death wish is impossible, lies its undoing. You go, that's a crazy, impossible idea that can never be accomplished. You can never actually achieve it, because you can't actually kill anything, because the mind is eternal. It's like, well, it's pointless. You're trying to kill what can't be killed. Well, I told you about the Star Wars. That it's a brilliant scene in the movie. If you watch it, it's the what was it called? The it was number 7. It'll come to me. So, or no, it was number 8. No, it was number 8, I think. In the series. And so this you know, the bad guy, the Sith Lord, is obsessed with killing his old master. He's just like, okay, direct all the firepower we have. And it's like, you know, all these huge cannons and guns, and it's like a big crater. And then he just walks out and he goes, it's a great scene. And it's just like, yeah, you can't kill it. Right? The true self.
It's not, not possible.
It's not possible to kill it. So do your worst, all the fear and hatred and anger and attack and trying to kill it. And he just goes, because I'm not mortal, you know. He's an image projected there, so there's no body anymore. So you can't kill me. So the joke's on the ego then. It's like, we'll try as you like. It's not possible. So why don't we just, you know, do away with this farce? It's ridiculous. And realize the truth, that it's not possible to kill myself or anyone. And then you accept the truth of your mortal being. All right, so shall we move on to number 4? I've conceived a little gap.
I can conceive a little gap between illusions and the truth to be the place where all my safety lies, and where myself is safely hidden by what I have made. Here is a world established that is sick, and this the world the body's eyes perceive. Here are the sounds it hears, the voices that it hears, that its ears were made to hear. Yet sights and sounds the body can perceive are meaningless. It cannot see nor hear. It does not know what seeing is, what listening is for. It is a little able to perceive as it can judge or understand or know. Its eyes are blind, its ears are deaf. It cannot think, and so it cannot have effects.
Yeah, so pretty explicit. What's he saying here?
Well, back to the little gap. We're back into that gap again. What is that little gap? I know we talked about it last night. Is that where pure formless awareness is, but we keep filling it up?
Well, we've conceived a little gap between illusions and the truth to be the place where all my safety lies.
That's the pure formless awareness.
So somehow I can kind of fudge this, and I live somewhere in between the truth and the illusion.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And many people do this. You know, I know I'm kind of on a spiritual path, but I still believe in the ego and the world, and somehow I try and make that work. It's a compromise approach. A gap between illusions and the truth, and I sit somewhere in between, and somehow I try and make that work for myself. Good luck with that. You know, I spoke to, I mentioned that conversation I had a couple of years ago with that guy. That was exactly, you know, what he was trying to do. He's conceived of a little gap between illusions and the truth. He says, okay, well, understand there's absolute truth. You know, he'd studied some of the scriptures and he'd read the course. Okay, the absolute infinite eternal truth, and then you have the illusions of the body and so on. And he was like, well, I can have both. Why can't both be real? That's a little gap. He's trying to live in that space and go, well, there's truth and there's illusions, and I don't have to make up my mind. I can have both. I can have the benefits of both, because he quite liked the illusion of the body, and he was into tantra and so on, body pleasures. I was like, well, I kind of want that, so I will choose a philosophy that then allows that. Oh, well, that's quite okay, because the illusions are just as real as the truth, and I can have both, and that's okay. Well, you're living in nowhere world. It's in no man's land, really. Right. And the conflict will continue in your life until you choose. So he at some point will have to face the fact that he can't do that, that you have to choose. And it'll come as a lesson of, well, okay, so his body gets older, he gets sick, his partner gets sick, the body that you once valued so much, that was healthy and young and fit and sexy, is now old and decrepit and dying. So there was nothing permanent there, that lasted. It was a temporary, illusory sensation that you valued above the eternal truth. And then, well, the ego comes calling, and you will suffer and you will die because of it. So that's the price of illusions. You suffer, and by your own decision, you suffer. No one's done it to you. It's because of your own choice, your own misguided choice to choose part of the illusion. But when you choose the illusion, you actually deny the truth. So you can't really have both, because the one denies the other. So he was kidding himself to say, I can have both. So no, by choosing the illusion and giving it a reality, you actually deny the truth entirely. And so conceptually, you might know the truth is there, but you're actually living in the illusion. And the illusion is dictating your thoughts and your actions and your life there. And so you will experience the products of illusory thinking. That's what happens. You will suffer, and you'll die. And you'll probably go, oh, that's a bit extreme, and it's too dualistic, and you can argue it all you like, but it's like Yeshua is telling us very clearly. Yes, it makes sense, and I believe him, because what he's done. He's attained ultimate mastery. He's freed his mind from the illusion. He's not still some guy trying to figure it out in a human form. He's actually awakened, and he's not here anymore. So if we want to escape from the dream, then follow someone who's already escaped. That's the message. Okay, so any thoughts on number 4? What's he saying there?
Yeah, that's clear. Yeah, that's clear.
That the body really is clueless. The body is clueless. It doesn't really know. It doesn't see. It has no mind. People say, "Oh, my body wants this, or my body needs this." That's all false, because it's really the mind. It's the mind that then attaches itself to the body, and then says, "Oh, well, the body, I'm our body, and the body wants this." But it's actually just the ego mind that wants it, and the ego mind that's perceiving and judging through the body's senses. So he's saying, well, nothing's really going on, because you're just in this dream. You're a dream figure in a dream world, and all of your sense perceptions are false. So it's not really seeing anything or hearing anything, and everything that you value so much in the body. We value this body and senses. It's an illusory construct, and it will confuse and delude you, and ultimately cause you to suffer and die. So why do you value it so much when this is what it is? All right, so let's go on to number 5. You read it, turn on the light.
Yeah. What is there? Pure formless awareness of perfect love, created to be sick. And what that it created not can be. Let not my eyes behold a dream, my ears bear witness to illusion. They were made to look upon a world that is not there, to hear the voices that can make up no sound. Yet are there other sounds and other sights that can be seen and heard and understood? For eyes and ears are senses without sense, and what they see and hear, they but report. It is not they hear and see, but I, who put together every jagged piece, each senseless scrap and shred of evidence, and make a witness to the world I want. Let not the bodies, ears, and eyes perceive these countless fragments seen within the gap that I imagined, and let them persuade their maker his imaginings are real.
No. It's very explicit. He's just telling us the nature of the dream. They were made to look upon a world that is not there, and to hear the voices that can make no sound. Right? So it's a setup. The whole thing is a setup. It's a construct of the mind designed to show us an illusion and try and make an illusion true. And that's what the body and its sense perceptions are for. But he doesn't leave us there. He says, yet there are other sounds.
Mm.
And other sights,
Mm-hmm.
other sounds and sights that can be seen and heard and understood. Yet there are other sounds and sights that I can see, hear,
And be understood.
and understand.
Oh, yeah.
I can see. For eyes and ears are senses without sense, and what they see and hear they but report. Eyes and ears are senses without sense, and what they see and hear they only report. Not they that hear and see, but I who put together every jagged piece, each senseless scrap and shred of evidence, and make a witness to the world I want. So it's a projection. From our desire to be a separate self, we project out, we invent a world. Extraordinary. I mean, that's the power of our mind. We made it all up. And you continue to make it up. As long as you hear, the dream is projected out and perceived as real instantly. That's what's going on all the time. So nothing's really there, but you project and you perceive instantaneously, and that's going on all the time, and that's what gives it, the world its reality. It's mind-blowing, really. But this is what all the mystics have been telling us, and quantum mechanics confirms it. There is no reality in the absence of observation. That's what it's a quantum physics principle, Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. There is no reality in the absence of observation. In other words, if there is no observer, there is no reality. There is no fixed reality out there. Reality lies in the perception of the observer. The only reality it has is a perceived one. It has no absolute reality. That's what quantum mechanics is saying, which is exactly what the mystics have said for thousands of years. There is no absolute reality here. This is the world of illusion. It's Maya. It's not true. It's all in your perception. It's an optical delusion of consciousness, as Einstein put it. Actually, what lies beyond it, pure formless awareness of perfect love, as we call it, infinite absolute reality of God, that is reality. That's base reality. And what you've created is a covering over that, a veil of illusion over that. And that's what he's telling us here. It is not they that hear and see, but I who put together every jagged piece. But we'll say my false self, we put together every jagged piece, each senseless scrap and shred of evidence, to witness to the world I want. and not the body's ears and eyes perceive these countless fragments seen within the gap that I imagined. So I will not let the body's eyes, ears and eyes perceive these countless fragments perceived within the gap that I imagined. Right, so in this world I've imagined, I perceive all these fragments of my split mind as real. And let them persuade their maker, let them persuade me as their maker that my imaginings are real. And that's what we've done. You know, the projection perception is designed to persuade us that this is all real, it's really happened, this is reality, and now you are really a separate self, separate from your source. You're not pure formless awareness, and you have this, you know, separate identity. That's what it's all about. And that's the whole deal. That's what's going on here. It's so simple, really. Okay, well, now you've just solved the greatest mystery. Like, why does the world exist? You see, it solves that. Well, it exists because of a delusion. You thought you wanted to be a separate self, and then you had to miscreate this world to justify the existence of that separate self, in which the separate self can now live and seemingly exist and die, of course. And this is all made up. So in miscreation. Okay, so any other thoughts on number 5?
That was very clear, yeah.
Okay, so number 6, extension proves reality.
Extension proves reality because it shares the function all extensions share. It is not made of little bits of glass, a piece of wood, a thread or two, perhaps all put together to attest its truth. Reality does not depend on this. There is no gap that separates the truth from dreams and from illusions. Truth has left no room for them in any place or time, for it fills every place and every time and makes them wholly indivisible. Wholly indivisible.
Indivisible.
Indivisible. I don't know what that means.
Indivisible.
No.
Cannot be divided.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
So it can't be split apart, can't be divided. It's whole, it's complete. One.
So there's just no gap. Instead of this little gap, there's no gap. It's just one truth.
Yeah. And that little gap is just in our mind. It's a mental construct. He's saying that little gap is where you think you live. Yeah.
But it seems to
And
take
the world
all
is a
our
result
life
of that gap in
yeah,
your
but
mind.
the little gap seems to take our whole life up. So it doesn't appear to be a little gap. It's huge.
I know. This seems to be a new reality. It's like we fell. There's a crack in the mind, and we went down that crack, down the ladder of separation, and this whole illusory reality now developed in the crack, in this little gap. And now we're caught up in this so-called reality, and we're really just in a gap in our minds.
Yeah.
But it seems to be very real. It's like you've blown up a balloon. You know, it's actually just a little crack that's at the start, but then it mushrooms to enormous size.
It just seems like that's all there is, you know, in the separate
and
self.
then you're caught up in the balloon, which is now the universe. You know, the projection was the gap. We split our minds. We went into the gap in the mind, projected that up, blew it all up, and that's exactly what the cosmologists say happened. Right? It started with one
Big
intense ball of energy, which all matter and energy existed, and then it just blew up. and it's been expanding out ever since. So it's a massive balloon. And then all these little fragments of the mind now get caught up in the dream, and they interacting and having this experience in the balloon of the universe. And it was actually just a tiny mad idea that blew it all up. And that tiny mad idea is the gap that he's talking about.
Right.
And we've fallen down like a crack. Another way of visualizing being a crack in the earth. We've gone into a crack in the earth, and then we've slipped through, and now there's a big cavern. And now we're underground, and this becomes our new reality. And we seem to be living here, and there's people and figures on the cave wall, and there's all this stuff happening underground. But actually, we've just fallen through the gap, and true reality lies above. And we've forgotten that it exists. Imagine if that happened. And it does happen in this world. Various cave dwellers, they go into the gap, they get into the cave, and then they start breeding there, and they have generation after generation. They forget that there's something above, and they live their entire life in the cave. That
they're stuck in their little gap, a gap in the gap. Yeah,
they're stuck in a dream world, and they've forgotten that there's even something like an outside world. And so that's the delusion we're in. All right, so where are we? Number 6, extension proves reality.
Yeah, I finished the paragraph here. They're indivisible. And I asked about what that was, and yes, it's the divided.
Yeah. Where are we? Indivisible.
I'd finished the paragraph, and then I asked what was indivisible.
Yeah. There's no gap that separates the truth from dreams and from illusions. Truth has left no room for them in any place or time. So what he's saying is that the truth is true. It's always true. It's still there. We just don't see it because we've so consumed by illusions. But it actually underlies. It's the base reality, foundational awareness or reality, without which there would be nothing. And that's what we have to start seeing. It fills every place in time and makes them wholly indivisible. Why? Because it's always now. I always have my awareness is here now. My true awareness is here now. That's the truth, isn't it? I'm here now. And I'm still here now, the next moment. And I'm still here now, the next moment. So it's eternal. My awareness is eternal. There is no gap. The truth is complete, whole. And all the illusions that I projected out mean nothing because I'm here now. I am that I am. I am love. Whatever statement you use points you to that, okay, I'm now in the truth. I'm in reality, not in the gap. It's not made of little bits of glass, a piece of wood, a thread or two, perhaps. All put together.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Look, he's referring to our reality. A little bit of glass, a piece of wood, a thread or two. This is what, in our illusion, we make up this stuff up. It's called arts and crafts. And we make it up and we go, that's reality. It's like he's saying, no, it's not reality. All of the stuff you think you've made, the arts and the crafts that you value so much, and the furniture and all the technology, it's all the same. It's all an illusion made in the gap in the mind. None of it's true, and none of it will really satisfy you for that reason. Only the truth will satisfy you. Just a moment. I've got a meeting in 8 minutes, but I'm just going to see if I can get us a little extension because it would be nice to. Let me just message this guy. Where are we? Mandla. Can we meet at? Let's call it. What would be 8:30?
Well, I was hoping to have a little tea at 7:15. But so I don't.
Yeah. No, well, we're finished by then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we meet at at 8:15, shall we say?
Okay.
Okay, still on a Zoom call. For 20 minutes or so. Thanks, Henry. All right, so let's just set that up. All right, so where are we? Last
Number
paragraph.
7. Yeah.
Number 7.
Yeah.
I who believe there is a little gap.
I who believe there is a little gap between me and my companions do not understand that it is here I am a prisoner in a world I perceive exists. The world I perceive does not exist because the state from which I perceive it is not real. The gap is carefully concealed in fog, and misty pictures rise to cover it with vague, uncertain forms. Oops, so I just lost it there for a moment there. Misty pictures that rise to cover it with vague, uncertain forms and changing shapes, forever unsubstantial and unsure. Yet there is nothing in the gap, and there are no awesome secrets or no darkened tombs where terror rises from the bones of death. When I have lost the fear of recognizing love, I will look at the little gap and perceive the innocence and sinlessness within myself.
About I will perceive the little gap correctly. And look beyond it to the innocence and sinlessness within myself. Original was look at the little gap. Read that, number 6.
Yeah. Look at the little gap, and you behold the innocence and emptiness of sin that you will see within yourself when you have lost the fear of recognizing love.
Instead of that, number 6.
Yeah. When I have lost the fear of recognizing love, I will perceive the little gap correctly and look beyond it to the innocence and sinlessness within myself.
Yeah, so empty of sin, emptiness of sin. Well, that's sinlessness, which we actually translate sinlessness as innocence.
Mm.
Innocence implies a state of sinlessness, because you can't be sinful and innocent at the same time, can you?
Mm-hmm.
These are self-evident truths. And if we really look at it honestly, you're like, well, how can I be sinful and innocent at the same time? So it's like they contradict each other.
Mm.
So, it's one or the other. That should be self-evident, but in the ego's madness, it's not. And so we try and fudge it and somehow compromise and go, well, I can have a little bit of sin, and I can also have love and light and laughter and innocence, and include, my separate identity, my special self, which entails sin in it. That's never possible. You have to choose. The separate self can never experience innocence and love and light and laughter, because it's been born in sin and guilt. And so the heaviness of that thought system of fear and punishment and sickness and death mean that you can never really be free. You can't just be happy and free and laugh, and because that oppresses you. Sin is very oppressive, dark energy. And even if ego temporarily, oh, no, I had a good time. It's like it comes back, doesn't it? That returns to haunt you because you haven't really escaped from it. So that's why like temporary pleasure seeking doesn't work.
No.
Because temporarily, okay, I escaped. Oh, yeah, I zoned out. That felt amazing. I, whatever, drank, smoked, did my drug, zoned out on the internet, whatever, felt good for the moment. But then the sin and the guilt return. And then it's like, okay, but then you come back into your normal awareness, and then that sin and that guilt is still there. It's telling you, no, you're a sinner, you deserve to be punished. And now even more sinful because you indulge in your guilty pleasure. Oh, bad boy, bad girl. Now we've got to punish you.
Yeah. I know.
And this is what people do to themselves. It's crazy, yeah.
Vicious circle.
That's why temporary. There's no temporary solution to this. The only solution is you've got to let it go entirely. You've got to let go of the whole self-concept that is behind it all. That's the only solution, which means you've got to let go of who you think you are.
Yeah.
It's the only way. Which is, more than most people are willing to do. It's like, whoa, it's a bit hectic. You're asking me to let go of myself? Yes. Because that's the problem. Your separate self is the problem.
Yeah,
All of your what's the common denominator in all of your problems? You. It's self-evident, isn't it? It's so obvious. Yeah, you're the problem.
Of course.
It's your own thoughts, your own emotions, what you think of as yourself. That's the problem. Who suffers? You do. Who dies? You do. Who gets sick? You do. You can't blame the outside world. It's the perceiver that's perceiving that's the problem. So do away with the perceiver. No self, no problem. Gone. Wiped away, cleaned. That's the approach. But a Zen master was once asked, what's the essence of the teaching? He just said, no self, no problem. Yeah, exactly. No separate self, no problem, because all problems come from the separate self concept. So that's what we're trying to do here. Just undo that separate self. Okay, so thoughts on number 7?
No, that's good. It's good. Yeah, good. Well explained.
He's pointing here just the nature of the illusion. All these misty pictures, the fog. It's an illusion. It's a dream. It's a game of smoke and mirrors. And all of the illusions you see in this world, everything that arises here, including the awesome secrets. Oh, it's so awesome. Oh, this is the mysteries of the world. And he's saying, no, it's all nonsense. There are no awesome secrets, no darkened tombs where terror rises. So interesting, he juxtaposes those. So these people who think, there's many people who think that spirituality is about uncovering the mysteries of the universe. There's people, it's really into crop circles or aliens or I want to know all the stuff. There's all these mysterious secrets, and they go down these rabbit holes and spend years down there. So people dedicate their lives to pursuing these.
What about astrology?
Well, astrology is a system of guidance. So I'd say it's on a higher level, but it's still saying really, problem with astrology is that somehow your mind is now at the mercy of the forces of the cosmos. So why are you upset? Well, because Saturn is turning a double whammy over Venus or something. That's why. It's ridiculous. No, you're upset because of your ego. That's why you're upset. And anything external, I'm not denying in this world these planets have energies, and that like you can feel them, and the moon exerts a force on the earth that's felt.
Oh yeah, especially when there's a full moon. Yeah, you can't feel the energy. Yeah.
But it's all illusion. You call it just another part of the illusion, isn't it? Part of the construct of an outside world. So it's not going to awaken you. Oh, well, it's a better energy because it's up there, it's out there. It's a classic illusion. Now my destiny is in the stars. Wow. Okay. So you just projected it all out there, and you're saying somehow you're now, in effect, of the cosmos, of the outside world. You see the problem?
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, you're the cause of it. You projected it all, and now you think you're affected by it. That's the problem. And so now it comes back to
I mean,
the
basically,
density.
it's very pretty to see, though, a very starry night with that, moon on its back. It's very attractive to look at.
Yeah, but it's an illusion.
But with the body's eyes, yeah, it's still a senses, but
All
yeah.
of it is illusion. It's a construct. And remember, then you look at a kitten dying, you go, oh, that's horrible. Well,
oh yeah,
it's the same, it's in the same order of reality, or you go to a toxic waste dump or something that's horrendous. Well, okay, do you see, it's all the same. It's still a dream. And you can't have one without the other. Oh no, very attractive. I love that. So I want the good stuff, but I don't want the bad stuff. Well, you can't do that because you've got to accept both of it if you come into this world.
Oh, sorry, my dogs are playing up there. It's past their walkie time. But no, this is interesting. You'll just have to wait.
Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look at the exec summary, if you want to read that.
Yeah. The sense of sickness signifies a perception of limitation, a diversions. Yeah. Diversions. And I perceived a gap between myself and my companion, establishing good as external and evil within. Pure formless awareness of perfect love, the alternative to fearful dreams, shares its will with me, enabling extension to further extend. It's awakeness. Yeah.
Saying that.
Just about the significance of the sickness and the limitation, and how we see our companions, seeing it the other way around, good as external and what's going on inside as evil, just two parallel worlds, two different worlds.
Whereas pure formless awareness extends through me, enabling extension to further extend. Enabling being, let's say, to further extend, right? So it extends in and through my mind, because I accept my being, and then if I'm inspired by being, then I extend it out through my words and my actions, and so I become an agent of being in the world, which is what the spirit wants us to be, rather than an agent of the ego.
The palpability of malignant dreams of hatred, malice, and loss arises from shared belief, whereas their power diminishes when not endorsed. Only one reality, love or fear, can be present in my mind, determined by my willingness to embrace it. If I let go of the dreamer, distinguishing him from his benevolent dream, both he and I gain freedom from it. Sharing an evil dream implicates me in it, deterring me from realizing my innocent identity, prompting a war against myself and companions seen as enemies.
Yeah, let's just fix this. The dreamer, distinguishing him from my malevolent dream. Both the dreamer and I in freedom are set free. So the truth is, the ego actually wants to be released. The dreamer of the dream, the ego, actually hates itself. It's an entity that hates itself. It's caught up in its own deluded reality. And it just actually wants to be put out of its misery, really, which means it ceases to exist. So the dreamer of the dream is then undone. and simply done away with, and all of that twisted, distorted thinking and all the pain and suffering is just gone. It's erased, it's wiped away. And that's what he's he's putting the ego out of its misery by doing this practice. And of course it screams, oh, I want to exist, I want to love, I like my misery and my pain and my suffering, I want to continue on in it forever. You're like, well, so what's the point? You're just this miserable, insane, ridiculous entity that has no idea who you are, what you are. There's no value in it at all. What's the point of an entity that's so twisted and distorted? It's just going to suffer and die repeatedly. What is the point of that existence? There's no point. So put it out of its misery and go, okay, well, it's end off. There's no more existence for you, because I'm just not entertaining the whole thought system. So it's gone. I'm not believing in that anymore. It needs your mind to believe in it, to make it real. Okay. Sharing an evil dream implicates me in it.
Where am I?
Sharing an evil dream implicates me
sharing,
in it.
Yeah. Sharing an evil dream implicates me in it, deterring me from realizing my innocent identity, prompting a war against myself and companions seen as enemies.
I think entangles would be a nice word. It entangles. We've got entangled in the dream.
Yeah.
Entangles me in it, deterring me from realizing, preventing me from realizing my innocent identity. And prompting a war against myself and companions that are now perceived as enemies. Okay? Self-imposed gap.
A self-posed gap between illusions and truth, seen as a refuge, underpins a seemingly sick world, but the body's perceptions are inherently meaningless, unable to truly see, hear, or comprehend. My eyes and ears designed to bear witness to a non-existent world, and silent voices only report its I who stitched together incoherent fragments to form a semblance of a world I wish to see. Extension.
Eyes and ears designed to bear witness.
What's the witness again? What's the translation to witness?
Well, they witness, or they give evidence to, or they testify to.
I thought it was another word you used in the.
Another way of saying it. Eyes and ears are designed to bear witness, designed to bear witness to a non-existent world, and silent voices. It is I who stitched together incoherent fragments to form a semblance of a world I wish to see. Semblance of a reality, right? So it's a make-believe reality, it's a mock reality, it's a false reality. It is my separate self, which stitches together, patches, incoherent fragments of my split mind to form a semblance of a reality I wish to perceive. And that's what the world is about. Extensions validate reality by showing universal function independent of fragmentary constructed evidence. Okay, interesting. This remembers AI that's done this. Projections, wish to perceive. So these projections, they're not extensions, they're projections. These projections validate reality by sharing a universal function independent of fragmented constructed, fragmented and fabricated evidence. Truth
occupying every place and time renders illusions and dreams devoid of dwelling.
renders illusions and dreams. Needs a bit of translation, doesn't it? Truth occupying every place and time
renders illusions and dreams devoid of dwelling.
Devoid of
Yes, it's
of meaning. Makes illusions and dreams devoid of meaning. Okay. My belief in a minute gap, a minute gap.
My belief in a minute. I'm not saying that properly. You know what I mean? Minute. Oh, gap. I've got a block there.
Tiny gap.
Okay, there you go. My belief in a tiny gap between my companions and me confines us in a falsely perceived world.
Yeah.
This illusory world, along with its unfounded secrets and threats, is shrouded in a mysterious fog, yet the gap contains nothing. Peering into it reveals the emptiness and innocence of sin, allowing love to be recognized without fear once I relinquish such fears.
Rotted in. Seemingly awesome secrets and unfounded threats is shrouded in a mysterious fog, yet the gap contains nothing. So all illusion, a world of fantasy, make-believe, blown up into epic proportions, and yet meaning nothing, completely false, coming from a false idea. Peering into it reveals, did you read this one? Peering into it reveals the emptiness.
It reveals the emptiness and innocence of sin, allowing love to be recognized without fear once I relinquish such fears.
Yeah, I did a translation. It's quite a tricky one, so just okay. Any comments on that?
No, that's clear. Yeah, that's clear.
Okay. So a world of make-believe, smoke and mirrors. He's saying, look beyond it. Don't be fooled by it. It's all a dream. Go beyond it to the truth that's always there. That undoes all of this. By staying in the truth, which is base reality, the ground of being, all the illusions just depart. You realize they're all illusory. They're all in the same order of reality. So whether it's a nice sunset, or the moon rising, or stars, or whatever, what Lynn likes to take photos of, or whether it's a toxic waste dump, or someone dying, or all the suffering and the death, these kinds of scenes, it's the same reality. It's all illusory. So we have to perceive it correctly and say, none of it's true. That's the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of all of it. Absolutely none of it is true. Okay, so key message. We'll read that.
Yeah. I recognize that sickness is perceived separation from my companions and establishes evil as real in my awareness. Evil dreams seem real when shared. These shared illusions create a seemingly sick world, but I can recognize the non-existence of the gap between myself and my companions. This will help me let go of the dreamer, release me from these dreams, and reveal my true nature as the extension of perfect love.
Yeah. So again, reiterating the idea that we share the dream, and that to free ourselves, we must realize there's no gap between us. My companions and I are one. So it's a big realization. It helps us undo the dream world. Because if I really am separate from my companion, then the world must be real. Then I really am a body. The world exists. I'm separate from, my companions in the dream, and that all seems to be real if I'm separate from them. So the separation between you and one other person that you perceive makes the entire construct real. So, wow. Okay. So best I correct that perception, because it enslaves me into this dream world that I really don't want anymore. Okay, so you want to summarize this in your own words, right? So what's he saying here overall? Key message, just to kind of bed it down in your understanding, and then
well, you've got the choices of two again, but the main thing is this little gap that we've got ourselves into, and we think that it's all real, whether it's good or bad. Like you say, whether you're looking at the stars or whether you're looking at a dead form, it's just all still part of the dream, and we can release ourselves from this dream eventually and come to the true nature of our extension of perfect love once we realize the evil dreams are just not real. And we don't need to share them anymore, making them real, letting it go. Yeah.
And don't believe in anyone else's evil dream. Someone else is sick and you're dealing with that at the moment. That's their delusion, but it's not true. That's not true reality. That's just part of the dream world. There we got caught up in. So don't buy it. Don't believe it, really. Even though you can go and visit her in hospital and be helpful, you don't believe the dream. You don't believe any of it's true. The hospital is not real. The body is not real. So you're a dream walker, walking in a dream world. But awakening is realizing that that's what's going on. You're just dreaming. A dream figure in a dream world. And it can all be a bit surreal. And you start going, where am I? Like I'm in some kind of weird dream. Oh my God. This is what awakening means. That's not real. Whatever I'm experiencing here isn't real. It's part of a dream. But that means you're free of it. Whatever happens, you can look at it and go, well, it's just a dream. So as awful and shocking as it can be, or as nice and as pleasant as it can seem to be, it's just a dream. And the nature of the dream, because it's not real, is that it changes all the time, moment by moment. So I can't rely on it. So, why am I relying on the dream for my happiness and my peace when it's going to change? It's a very unstable foundation for my happiness to rest upon, isn't it? So therefore, let me let it go and find the true foundation, which is my eternal being that doesn't change. Much more sensible idea. Which means I've got to let go of all the illusions. Okay, so yeah, any other comments, thoughts, or questions on this one? Otherwise, I think
that's all good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, more clear understanding. Yeah. At least I understand that little gap. Yeah. Because you hear Eckhart Tolle saying the gap, stay in the gap. But of course, he's meaning the true gap, the one without all the illusions.
Well, he means the gap in your mind. So when you create a space in your mind between thoughts, that's the gap he's meaning. Yeshua's using it as the little gap between truth and illusion that we fell down and we're still living there. Now the gap in the illusion becomes the doorway to the truth. That's what Eckhart's talking about. So it's all about perspective, from which view you're looking at it. Yeshua was saying the gap, the seed from ultimate truth, and you went down this gap or crack in the mind into this illusion. Eckhart's looking at it from the other perspective of, okay, well, now you're in the human form and you've got all this crazy stuff going on in your mind that disturbs your peace. Now you need to find some space, a gap in those thoughts, because that gap is the crack in this false reality that can take you all the way back up to the truth. See, so it depends on which perspective you look at it from. From the top level, the gap in the mind, we went down. The bottom level, you need a gap in the ego's thinking now to go all the way back up the ladder. You need a crack in it to go back up, and that crack comes with mindfulness practices, things like meditation and so on. Create a space in the mind to start to perceive something else, and then you can take that gap and you can stay in the gap, and that then cracks open eventually the ego's little bubble, and you can escape. If you're caught in this little bubble, it's like a shell that needs to crack open, and then you escape to the light, a dark shell that keeps you from the light. So it's just a matter of perspective, and it's all language. Remember, they're using languages to point to things that are beyond language. Okay, so any other questions, Elaine? Or?
No, that's all good. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. Really nice tonight. So good session, and I'll see you tomorrow. Shall we do an evening one tomorrow?
Yeah, it will have to be, because I'm actually working tomorrow and I've got some errands and things to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So should we do 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock's good. Yeah, that's great.
All right. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye. Bye. Namaste.
All right, so that's a wrap. Thanks, Elaine, for joining the session. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're on the live stream, so join us for one of these live sessions soon. Put a link below where you can log in. Join us for Masterclass on Sunday, and you can also receive some of the material that I put out. We talked about initially on Telegram every day. So link below to do that, and subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you on the inside soon. Thanks for joining, and namaste, which means the true self in me, as long as that same true self in you. Peace.